Mr. Costello, you know quite a bit about reBuild Houston. It looks like reBuild Houston is in big trouble. The Texas Supreme Court has, well, let's face it, all but mandated that the lower court must rule that the ballot language in the referendum that created Houston's drainage fee didn't tell voters that they were going to have a drainage fee. Let's assume that the courts are going to rule against Houston in this matter. Where do we go from here? If the city can't impose a drainage fee, would you propose any other sources of revenue that bankroll reBuild Houston?
Well, let's first talk about the successes of reBuild Houston. Prior to reBuild Houston, we were spending $100 million a year, and our debt service was $148 million. That doesn't make sense. In the last 4 years, we are spending $300 million a year rather than $100 million a year, completed 375 projects, lowered our street and drainage debt by $350 million, and we've done it with less staff. I find that a pretty successful program. And if you look at it moving forward over the next 15 years, we'll lower the debt by $1.7 billion, and we'll be investing $600 million every year rather than $100 million. This is an incredible program. I'm going to respectfully disagree with the court system. That's okay. We'll follow the court process and move on. And whatever the courts decide, the city will have to implement. But I would think that this program is going to be in the court system for a number of years. What I look forward to is the success of the program, convincing the public that it's a successful
Thank you, Mr. Costello. Adrian Garcia, 30 seconds to rebut.
Look, you want the streets fixed, we want flooding to go away, so we need to make wise investments towards those issues. But at the end of the day, the concerns I've been hearing from folks is that nobody knows how these projects are being decided upon, how they're being prioritized. They're being put in, the decisions being made in conference rooms. That's a lot of your money that we're spending. I would probably move that program into City Hall where there's lights, cameras, and audio.
Thank
so
you.
That you know how they're being.
Thanks very much, Mr. Garcia. Ben Hall, 30 seconds.
As a lawyer, I know that the Supreme Court's ruling is final as it relates to the reBuild Houston proposition. It is dead for all intents and purposes, and I think that's a good thing. I think that the voters were misrepresented and misled in voting for that proposition. I opposed it before it was voted on, and I opposed it after it was implemented. There is a way to handle our drainage problems in our streets, and it's not through reBuild Houston or by assessing an extra fee or tax on the taxpayers. I look forward to an opportunity when I have 1 minute to answer this question.
All right, very good. Bill King, 30 seconds.
I oppose reBuild Houston. We voted on it. I'm still opposed to it. I love these numbers. Steve says we're now doing $300 million a project. You know how much money we collect on the drainage fee? $100 million. I'm not exactly sure how $100 million turns into $300 million, but this is the kind of BS that we've gotten on reBuild Houston from day one. This is a failed program. All you've got to do is walk out here and look at our streets and see the conditions. Are they in better shape now than they were 5 years ago when we started this program?
Very good. Marty McVeigh, 30 seconds.
I think the idea of reBuild Houston is a good one. I think where the problem is how it was allocated and how it was presented to the people of this city. I believe that going forward, that 30% needs to be allocated to the neighborhoods. We cannot have an effective system for reBuild Houston unless we're building up neighborhoods. So I think that the idea is good, but it was seriously flawed in its execution by the city.
Thank you. Sylvester Turner.
The concept is good, but right now it's a line item in Public Works. It's not transparent. It was represented to be a dedicated fund for dedicated purposes, and now other employees are feeding off of it. You can't gain the public trust when it's like that. We do need a reliable, dependable funding source. I take this as an opportunity to come up with something much more constructive that will solve immediate short-term as well as long-term projects.
Bruce Bell.
It was sold to the public as a drainage fee. The individual sat in his garage and showed where the floodwaters had come, the high water marks. We need to know where the money's gone, and at the very least have an audit so that people will see where the money has been spent. When you hear reports that $3 million of those dollars have gone to a janitorial services contract, those aren't being spent on drainage. If they're going to salaries, those aren't being spent on drainage. People deserve to know where their money is being spent, and I'll make sure they do know when I'm making.
Stephen Casella, 30 seconds for the last word.
Thank you. Mr. King is obviously wrong because reBuild Houston is actually 4 sources of money, not just a drainage user fee, In fact, this past year, we got $120 million from Metro, $100 million in drainage fees, $50 million in the pay-as-you-go, reducing the debt, $40 million from the stormwater fund. This is a lockbox program that's designed to do street and drainage projects. And it's been successful, and I look forward to success moving forward. Thank you.
All right.